Good morning, my wonderful students. I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Viewers at home, in school, wherever you might be. I am Miss Dim Choman Joko. Let's proceed with the second part of the human reproductive system we started last week. Today, we are going to look at the human female reproductive system. At the end of the class, I expect you students to be able to draw and label the female reproductive system, state the functions of parts of the female reproductive system, and also differentiate between the male and the female reproductive system. Previously, you've been taught what reproduction is. I told you that reproduction is the ability of living organisms to give rise or to individuals of the same species. I also explained types of reproduction, the asexual reproduction and the sexual reproduction. And I also let you know that vertebrates reproduce sexually. Under the vertebrates, we started with mammals, which we started last week. Mammals' reproductive organ and functions, we look at that last class. Now, this class, we're going to look at the human female reproductive system. Before we proceed, I wish you subscribe below. Press the subscription button below to subscribe so that you can get more feeds from me. Now let's proceed. Human female reproductive system. Human female reproductive system consists of the external genitals and internal genitals. The external genitals is made up of the following external parts, which include the following parts. The vulva. First of all, the external genitals is that part which is usually visible below the pints, and they include the vulva. The vulva include the labia majora and the labia minora. This labia majora and the labia minora are the two lips that actually protect or closes the vagina. And the female reproductive system finally opens through this outside wall, through the vulva. So the vulva covers or protects the vagina. Function of the vulva is it allows the passage of the penis into the vagina. It also permits the passage of urine outside the body. So it means apart from the vagina, above the vagina, we have urinary ducts. This urinary duct is actually where urine comes out from whenever the female urinates, not from the vagina. The urinary duct is actually different from the vagina. The second one I want to talk about is the clitoris. This clitoris is found above the urinary duct and the vagina. The clitoris is a small and the most sensitive organ in the female. It is quite similar to the penis because it becomes erectile and stiff whenever there is blood flow into it when it is stimulated. I remember I taught you that the penis, whenever the penis is stimulated, blood flows into the penis and makes it stiff or hard. Then furtherly, it can lead to ejaculation and so on. Same with the clitoris. The clitoris becomes erectile whenever there is blood flow, and blood flows through it whenever it is being stimulated. And functions of the clitoris is that it helps to stimulate the female during sexual intercourse. The external genitals also consist of urine ducts. I'll talk about urine ducts, and also the opening of the vagina opening. Now let's look at the internal genitals. These are parts that are within the body of the females. They include, look at this picture. I just placed this picture here for you to be able to see the location of the female reproductive system. This is the internal view. No, we can't see this part externally. It's good ladies should know what their system look like, to study what their system look like at this stage of their life. And also, everybody, male and female, should know what's up. The Female reproductive system internally, this is how the structure actually look like. It consists of the fallopian tube, the ovary, the uterus, the cervix, and the vagina. This endometrium and myometrium are actually parts of the uterus. They consist as part of the uterus. Let's proceed. This is the structure of the human female reproductive system. The front view of the internal structure, just like how we have it here. This is how it is. Had it been, it was brought out from the body of the woman. This is the structure of the human female reproductive system. We have the uterus, the vagina, the cervix, the ovary, and the fallopian tube or the oviducts. Now, if you're asked to draw and label, maybe in your external exams, internal exams, anywhere, this is what I expect you to do. This is what is expected of you. You label carefully, neatly. There should be neatness in your label. The labeling should be aligned. Neat diagrams too. Let's pick them one by one. The functions of the parts of the human female reproductive system, which are part of the internal genitals. They include, number one, the ovaries. There are two ovaries in a woman located at each side of the reproductive system. They produce eggs. The eggs in the ovaries are also known as ova. The human ovary produces one egg each month. The eggs or ova that are produced in the Graafian follicle, which are developed inside the ovary before ovulation. The Graafian follicle are developed in the ovary prior to ovulation, and this Graafian follicle are the main instrument that actually does the ovary, the ovum or the egg production inside the ovary. The Graafian follicle ruptures during ovulation to release the egg. This is, look at this part. This part, just follow the white dots as I place it here. This place I touch is the ovary. So just look at this ovary, and this is like a section of the ovary too. This is inside the ovary. You can see from this place where my dot is placing is stamping is actually the ovary, the complete female reproductive system. Then inside the ovary, this is what it looks like. Then during ovulation, this is what happens. Follicles develop and the follicles produces ovum. Sorry, I want you to note that ovum, ovum, is the singular for ova, ova. Ovum is also known as egg, while ova is known as eggs. Ova is the plural form of ovum. Now let's proceed. So when this ovum is produced, it's being liberated. Can you see that? Follow this white dot that I'm stamping here. You see the way the ovary releases the ovum, and when this ovum is released, it is sent to the fallopian tube. Let's continue. Functions of the ovary. The ovary produces ova or eggs, like I said earlier. The ovary also produces the female sex hormone called estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen hormone is responsible for the development and regulation of female reproductive system and secondary sexual characters, such as development of breast, hips, pubic hairs, armpit hairs, etc. When you're in your GS class, maybe GS3 to be precise, in your science, you've been taught about secondary sexual characters in male and female. The one in male is controlled by the testosterone hormone, which is produced in the testes, like I said last week, while the one in the female is controlled by the estrogen hormone. This estrogen hormone is produced in the ovary, and this is the influence of the estrogen. It makes female, whenever the female reach puberty, to develop breasts, hairs in pubic region, beauty consciousness, and the rest. Progesterone hormone. Progesterone hormone is responsible for menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and development of embryo, which is also known as embryogenesis, in humans and other species. People call the progesterone hormone as the pregnancy hormone because it comes into play mainly during pregnancy. The second part of the female reproductive system is oviduct or fallopian tube. Let me talk about this. This is a long, narrow tube which receives egg released by the ovary. The oviduct links the ovary with the uterus. Now let's go back to our diagram. This long tube here, can you see it? Is the fallopian tube. It's also known as the oviduct. When the ovary is released during ovulation, it goes to the fallopian tube. This oviduct or fallopian tube links the ovary with the uterus. Function of the oviduct. Oviduct is where fertilization takes place. And what is fertilization? Fertilization is the fusion of the male and the female gametes to form the embryo. I just draw something to, this diagram just explains fertilization. Let me explain it. This thing that is snake-like walking here is actually the sperm, the male gamete. I've taught you what gamete is, sex cells. Why this one is the egg, the female gamete? I want to know that the egg is, the sperm is so small, so minute, and the egg is very large. This is how it is actually. Let me say this is a diagram that portrays the size. Might not be this color, but let's proceed. So when the sperm goes to meet the egg, get fertilization, it means new individuals or zygote is formed. That is what fertilization is all about. Then the oviduct or the fallopian tube is also a tube through which the egg or ovum passes from the ovary to the uterus. From the ovary to the uterus. The uterus is also known as the womb. It means that whenever the eggs fertilize in the fallopian tube, it then goes down to the uterus to implant itself. Let's continue. Uterus or womb. This is where the fetus develop. Implantation also takes place in the uterus. The uterus or the womb is where the what you know as baby, the fetus, the zygote, the embryo, whatever you might call it, depending on their stages in pregnancy. This is where it's developed to complete its pregnancy or its to complete the required gestation period before it can be given birth to. Implantation takes place in the uterus. What is implantation? Implantation is the process whereby the zygote or the embryo moves from the fallopian tube to attach itself to the wall of the uterus. Let me refer to this diagram again. Very important. During implantation, the eggs or the fertilized egg from this fallopian tube, you see my white dot, hope it's clear. You can see where the white dot is pointing from the fallopian tube, moves to the uterus. Look at the uterus and attach itself to the wall of the uterus. Can you see where my white dot is pointing? This is where implantation takes place. At the endometrium. This place is called the endometrium of the uterus, where the zygote or the embryo, you find its way to attach itself to the endometrium or to the wall of the uterus. That is what implantation is. Hope you are getting what I am saying. Let's continue. Cervix. Cervix is a ring of muscle with tiny opening that closes the lower end of the uterus where it joins the vagina. Function of the cervix is that it controls the opening and the closing of the womb during birth. Whenever a woman is pregnant and she wants to deliver, whenever she's having contraction, that contraction, she usually feels the pain at that lower part of the womb. That is the cervix. The cervix joins the womb to the vaginal canal. So whenever the cervix open, the baby then enters through the cervix, finds its way out of the womb through the cervix into the vaginal canal or the birth canal, then outside the vagina. The vagina is a muscular tube that leads from the uterus to outside of the body. During sexual intercourse, the penis is inserted to the vagina and the vagina receives the sperm. The vagina is also referred to as birth canal because fetus also pass through it during birth. Functions of the vagina: it receives sperm from the penis during sexual intercourse. Fetus also passes out of the vagina during birth. Before classwork, let's look at this diagram so that I can explain the cervix and the vagina with this diagram. Look at this. This is the cervix. Follow my white dots. The cervix is actually where the fetus passes through whenever the gestation period has ended, that is, pregnancy period has ended, and is about to leave the womb. When it then leaves the womb, it then comes into the vaginal canal, the birth canal, before it then comes out of the vagina. So the vagina helps to receive sperm during sexual intercourse. The cervix helps to control the opening of the womb during birth. Classwork: draw and label fully the human female reproductive system and state the function of 4 labeled parts. Then, number 2, in a tabular form, state 4 differences between the human male and female reproductive system. You do that yourself. Remember the last note I gave you? I taught you about the human male reproductive system. Now I taught you about the human female reproductive system. If you've paid attention to that previous note, you should be able to give me 4 good differences between the human male and female reproductive system, and this should be done in a tabular form. The last but not the least, what is implantation? Thank you, viewers, and watch out for part 3 of reproduction in vertebrates. Bye for now.